It was a night that promised to be full of surprises. Kanye West, the polarizing, boundary-pushing artist and entrepreneur, had been invited to speak at an exclusive forum discussing the U.S. trade war. The event was already buzzing with anticipation as the world awaited the latest commentary from a man known for his controversial opinions, sharp insights, and a personality that could shift the public conversation in an instant. As the lights dimmed and Kanye took the stage, the tension in the room was palpable. This wasn't just about trade policy, it was about understanding how a man who had risen to the top in music, fashion, and technology, and who had often positioned himself against the mainstream, would weigh in on one of the most pressing issues in global politics. With the room hanging on his every word, Kanye didn't disappoint. The moment he opened his mouth, the audience was thrust into a whirlwind of bold ideas, radical thinking, and a take on the U.S. trade war that no one saw coming. Kanye stepped to the microphone with his usual confidence, his eyes scanning the room filled with experts, policymakers, and journalists. "You know, the trade war. It's a joke. I'm not talking about the tariffs or the policies. I'm talking about the way we're thinking about it," Kanye said, his voice steady but filled with an intensity that demanded attention. The audience fell silent, unsure of what to expect next. Kanye's reputation for speaking his mind had made him an unpredictable force, but tonight, he seemed to be preparing for something more profound. "We're so caught up in this battle between nations, China, America, Russia, that we've forgotten the real issue," he continued. "It's not about who's winning the war in the short term. It's about who's going to be left standing after it's all over. And the way we're running things now, we're all going to lose." The audience shifted in their seats, some nodding, others exchanging puzzled glances. Kanye wasn't playing the traditional political game. Instead of focusing on the economic intricacies of tariffs and trade imbalances, he was zeroing in on the bigger picture. "We keep talking about winning this war as if it's a game. The problem is, there's no real winner here. We're all locked into a system that forces us to fight for crumbs. China, the U.S., everyone's playing by the same rules that were set decades ago. And the result? Economic growth for some, but the masses are getting left behind. The working class, the people on the ground, they're the ones who are suffering. You think these tariffs are helping them? Nah, they're hurting them." A few murmurs broke out in the crowd, and Kanye leaned in, his voice more pointed. "Look at the way America has built its empire. It wasn't about being nice or fair. It was about power, control, and taking advantage of the system. And now, with this trade war, we're just trying to hold on to a system that's been broken for years. Instead of fighting each other, we need to be thinking about how we rebuild this whole thing, how we create a new economy that works for the people, not just for the elites." The tension in the room shifted from uncertainty to intrigue. Kanye's words were sharp and challenging, forcing everyone in the room to reconsider their assumptions about global trade, the economy, and who truly benefits from the system. "But it's deeper than just money," Kanye continued. "It's about culture, it's about the way we see the world. I've been in this game long enough to know that we can't just build on the same old principles. Trade wars, tariffs, they're all part of the old system, a system built on exploitation. But we're at the edge of something new. It's time for a revolution in the way we think about wealth, about power." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle in. What if the trade war isn't just about countries fighting for dominance, but about something else? What if it's about forcing a change in how the world works, how we think about ownership, how we think about what's really valuable? The real revolution isn't about who's making money off this war, it's about creating a new way of doing things. The game's rigged, and the people at the top know it. The crowd sat in stunned silence, trying to absorb the depth of Kanye's argument. The usual discourse on the U.S. trade war was centered around policy and power. But Kanye was talking about a complete overhaul of the system itself, an idea so radical, so outside the box, that it left many questioning their own beliefs about economics and trade. As the conversation turned to the practical implications of his vision, Kanye's tone shifted once again. He was no longer just the artist or entrepreneur. He was the visionary, challenging everything that had come before. "We're talking about global trade, but what if we stopped thinking about the world as separate countries and started thinking about it as a collective? What if we all took our resources, our energy, and built something new together instead of competing with each other for scraps?" Kanye's voice had grown louder, more impassioned. "We're already in the middle of a revolution," Kanye continued, his eyes flashing with intensity. Look at tech, look at cryptocurrency, look at the way we're communicating now. The world is changing, and we're still acting like we're in the 20th century. The trade war, the tariffs, the back and forth, those are just distractions. We need to focus on what comes next. How do we innovate? How do we make this system work for everyone? The crowd was in awe. Kanye had turned a conversation about international politics into a call for global reinvention. He wasn't offering a solution to the trade war in the traditional sense. Instead, he was proposing a radical rethinking of the entire economic framework. He ended his speech with a simple yet profound statement. The world's greatest entrepreneurs aren't just thinking about how to make money, they're thinking about how to change the world. That's what we need now. We need to stop playing the game and start creating something new. As Kanye West stepped away from the microphone, the room was still. His words had landed like a bombshell, challenging everyone in the audience to reconsider their views on global trade, economics, and the future. The traditional narrative of the U.S. trade war, that it was about tariffs, policy, and power, had been flipped on its head. Kanye had reframed the conversation, shifting the focus from the immediate economic battle to the larger issue of systemic change. In the end, Kanye West didn't just make waves in the world of politics. He made a statement. The future isn't about fighting wars, it's about building something new, something better. And the world, it seemed, was finally starting to listen.